Knock off one more chapter of Zach's lie. Messing with the DEA, Drug Enforcement Agency. And it looks like Zach's father, he can speak Spanish. He's been to Tegus. So the end of chapter 3 said, he does now, Bender said, and this afternoon he conducted our entire interview in fluent Spanish. He speaks it as well as you. And he suggested that I let you know. He was probably hidden in Santa Lucia with the Peace Corps. Chapter 4. And chapter 4 is on page 31. After Bender left, June drove us to the Federal Detention Center where they were keeping Dad. Agent Pelton met us at the front door and led us to a waiting room on the 3rd floor. Generally, Agent Pelton began, we wouldn't allow you to speak to your husband prior to our interviewing you, Mrs. Osborne, but I think it might be in everyone's interest if we stretch the rules a little this time. June nodded. We appreciate you making this exception. I'm assuming there will be no recording devices. You assume correctly, Mrs. Saunders. We consider this a privileged conversation between husband and wife. Agent Pelton pointed to the chairs along the wall. You and the kids can wait here. He led Patricia down a hallway to a metal door with a uniformed guard standing in front of it. He glanced at his watch. You've got 15 minutes, Mrs. Osborne. The guard opened the door and Patricia stepped inside. Neil tried to get up, and when she entered, he was hindered by the shackles and bound his ankles to the floor. How are the kids? He asked. Patricia looked at him coldly. Considering everything you have put them through, they're fine. I'm sorry about all of this, Pat. Patricia cut him off. We don't have time for that right now, Neil. I only have 15 minutes. She took a deep breath to steel herself against the waves of emotions washing over her. It took all of her strength and will to look at Neil without bursting into tears of rage. All that mattered to her was protecting the children. Has the DEA interviewed you yet? Neil asked. No, but I promised Agent Pelton that he could if he allowed me to speak with you privately. Has Benjamin Bender contacted you? Yes, but I have not retained him as my attorney. Don't, Patricia held up her hand. You're in no position to tell me what to do. I was going to say, don't even speak to him again. If he calls you on the phone, hang up on him. If he comes to the door, don't open it. This surprised her. She had expected Neil to try to talk her into getting rid of June and retaining Bender. We're not at the house anymore. Don't tell me. It's better that I don't know. Neil looked down at his handcuffs. Did they hurt you? Did they hurt the kids? Well, not physically, but Joanne and Jack are traumatized, confused. It'll be a long time before they forget the experience, if they ever do. And the police? They took almost everything from the house, including the cars. I need to make some decisions, Neil, and you have to help me make them. Of course, he said quietly. She took another deep breath. Agent Pelton is going to ask about what happened last night. He knows something went on, but he doesn't know the specifics. One of the men last night said that he would kill you if we told anyone what happened to us. And he said that he would kill us, too. They'll try. How many were there? 3, and they all wore ski masks. Probably Barry Jones and Paul Snyder, maybe even Alonzo Aznar. He was getting his hands dirty from time to time. Who are they? Well, Alonzo Aznar runs a drug cartel, but the 2 men with him are his right and left hands. But it would be best for you not to mention their names to Pelton. I'd rather do that myself when it comes down to it. The DEA took all your files and your computer. They won't find anything there. What should we do, Neil? He looked at her for a long time before answering. You should tell Pelton what happened last night. This was not the answer she was expecting. Why? Because I have already told him about it. I don't understand. They were very specific about what. It was the only way to protect you and the kids, Neil said. I told Pelton that I will tell him everything he wants to know as soon as I know that you're safe. He said he would put you and the kids into the witness security program. What does that mean? Neil looked back down at the table. They'll auction everything off, including the house, and give you some of the proceeds after everything is settled. You'll probably be able to take a few things with you, and then they'll move you and the kids to a new town. Set you up in a small business if you want, and you'll have new identities. You won't be able to contact our friends or family, but you and Jacko and Joanne will be safe. It means you'll have to start all over again, Pat, as if your real past never happened. It will be horrible, but it's better than the alternative. Alonzo and his people are vicious, and they have long memories. Patricia could not imagine what this would mean for her and Jack and Joanne. No contact with her past? Ever? What about you? I'm not important right now. The only thing that matters to me is you and the kids. You'll see about me later. How much time do we have? Patricia looked at her watch. Less than 5 minutes. Okay, here's what we'll do. I've got to keep a good front, which means I have to keep Bender on as my attorney. But he's Alonzo's man, as you probably already guessed. When I talked to you last night, I was with Bender. They called his cell phone. If I drop Bender, all bets are off. Alonzo will know that I'm cooperating with the DEA, and it's crucial that he doesn't get wind of this until after you're safe. I'll tell Bender that you wanted your own attorney, that I couldn't talk you out of it. I've already gotten words to Alonzo that nothing had better happen to you or the kids. Well, what's going to stop him? I told Bender that if anything happens to you, a certain document will make its way to the DEA, and it will be all over for Alonzo and his operation. That should keep him at bay for a while. And is there such a document? Well, it doesn't matter if there is or isn't. If Alonzo thinks there is, they won't do anything to you or me until they can figure out what to do about it. This will give Pelton a chance to get you out of town. We'll use June as a messenger. We can trust her. And when she tells me that you're safe, I'll give Pelton the information he wants. The door opened. Time's up, the guard said. Are we clear on everything? Neil asked. Patricia nodded and stood up. I love you, Pat. I always will. Patricia was so numbed by what had happened she could not respond. You have to leave now, Mrs. Osborne. One more thing, Neil said. I want to see the kids before they put you in the program. It might be my last chance. I'll ask Agent Pelton, Patricia said. I'll ask the kids. Agent Pelton and June were waiting for her down the hallway. Are you ready to answer some questions for us, Mrs. Osborne? Agent Pelton asked. Patricia looked at June and nodded. I guess so. The interview ended 2 hours later. After it was over, Agent Pelton led Patricia and June to the room where Jack and Joanne were waiting. Patricia stopped before opening the door. Agent Pelton, I don't know how to put this, she said, but I'm feeling kind of paranoid staying at the hotel. This whole thing has been so upsetting. You want protection? Agent Pelton said. I know, it's silly. Agent Pelton smiled for the first time since he had met them. Mrs. Osborne, you've been under constant surveillance since the moment you left your house. We have 3 people at the hotel around the clock. But Benjamin Bender... Famous attorneys are usually nonviolent. He glanced at June with a grin. We didn't want to let him know we were keeping an eye on you, so we let him through. But how did he know where we were? Agent Pelton's smile disappeared. You didn't call him? Patricia and June shook their heads. Wow, so it's more suspense, and after this chapter, we kind of understand everything that's going on now, and now it's getting much more interesting. I'm glad you guys liked it. Stay tuned.